Hi, everybody. How are you doing? I hope you are having a great afternoon, evening, or morning, depending where you are. Welcome to this interview with Ekaterina Chashnikova. I'll ask her in a minute if that's the right pronunciation of her name. Sorry, truly sorry if that is not. I am Alfonso González. I am the TranslaStars CEO and founder. And we are going to talk about pharma medical translation and in the AI age that we are now. So I would like to know more about the industry, about how AI is impacting if if it is having any impact. What are clinical trials? Because we have a course coming next week about clinical trials, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have no idea what clinical trials are. I have a slightly idea because I have been reading, but I would like to know more from an expert, from Ekaterina. And if you are connected, if you are live, if you're watching this on any of our social media, please say hi. We have you have the opportunity to make questions to Ekaterina, to me, if you want. So please join our chat. You can just write your questions in the chat about what we talk about, or anything that is important for you, related or not to this topic. And we will show your questions if you make any questions, or you can even just say hi and tell us where you are watching us from. So without much further ado, let me welcome the star of this interview, the only, the amazing, the great Ekaterina Chashnikova. Hello, Ekaterina. How are you doing?
Hello, Alfonso. Thank you very much for this great introduction.
Well, I mean, you deserve more, but okay, I tried to do it a little bit. I mean, to the level of what you deserve. How are you doing then, Ekaterina?
I'm
How's
great.
everything going?
I'm great. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I hope we'll have a great time.
For sure, I hope so. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for your time, of course. Ekaterina, for those of you who do not know her, she's a pharmacist. I have been asking her, okay, what's pharmacist or pharmacologist? Because I even myself have some doubts, and I will ask her in a moment. Okay, what's the difference between those two? I mean, I know you can just Google it and you'll find the difference. But let's ask the expert. Pharmacists are way better than pharmacologists, for sure. So yeah, Katerina, you just have to say yes, yes, of course. And of course, well, she is a pharmacist. She's an expert in well, chemistry, drugs, in the sense of medicines, AI. She's also an expert in AI. She's amazing, and she has created several courses, not only for us, for other companies, about the use of AI in localization. With us, you can enjoy the free course she created for us, which is Bard and ChatGPT for translators. Look, Ekaterina, since we created that course, which was not that long ago, Google has changed the name to Bard to Gemini. Well, not only the
Yes,
name, they
I
have
know.
changed
Yeah,
everything. So we need to do another version of that course. That's
yeah, I
just to
agree. I
update it.
think we can do that. Yes,
Yeah, of
like
course.
in
Uh,
a year has passed.
yeah, let's wait, because right now we have like Claude, we have uh, Gemini. There are so many, or Copilot, which is, well, I mean, it's based on ChatGPT, but it's amazing. And apart from a pharmacist, expert in AI, she's a medical translator, and she's an amazing person. She has created several courses with us, or for us, for TranslaStars. So we are honored, happy that she did it. Most of them, or all of them, related to pharmacy, to the pharma industry, marketing for the pharma industry, for example, super interesting one. And now, did I forget anything about you, Ekaterina?
Oh, I also work as a writer, as a medical writer. It added a new dimension to my understanding of the documents I'm working with as a translator. I try to share some insights with my students as well, because I know that not many people have this, wider view of the industry, and I've also worked as a project manager in an agency. In the beginning of my career, it gave me a wholesome view of the market, understanding of the client's needs. So I also try to share the client's perspective with my students.
Yeah, that's super interesting to have the view from all sides, so to understand everybody better, their needs, why they want us to send things like for yesterday and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The first question is that I have. Well, the first question is, what's the difference between a pharmacist and a pharmacologist?
Oh, I actually wrote a blog post about the difference between pharmacy and pharmacology, but it's kind of the same. So actually, pharmacy is a whole set of disciplines related to drug products, and pharmacology is just one of these disciplines.
Okay.
So pharmacist is the person who knows, has this wide knowledge about drugs, how they are developed. I've studied, as a pharmacist, I've studied 9 different chemistries in the university. So pharmacist is usually the one who deals with drug development and who works in a pharmacy. And pharmacologist is a doctor who helps other doctors select appropriate treatment, because he knows a lot about how drug products work, how they interact. And pharmacology is a branch of pharmacy that studies what happens to a drug product in the human body, how it affects the body, and how it is affected by different processes. So I also have a course about it, pharmacology for translators, and it deals specifically with how drug products work in the body and what happens to them.
Yeah.
So basically, pharmacologist is a doctor and pharmacist is a chemist. I think
that's great. That's a great definition of both, and in just a few minutes, I have already learned a lot. So Ekaterina was mentioning one of her courses. Check our platform, check the list of courses. You will see her courses there, and the course that is coming next week. And now that everything is clear about pharmacy and pharmacology, let's go a little bit more in depth with pharmacy. How has the pharma industry received AI? I think we can separate it into many different fields, but I mean, on the side of localization, how are they taking it? Are they saying, "Oh, we no longer need translators; everything will be done by AI," or they are super careful because these things, again, I mean, be super careful because it's not. Yeah, I mean, we are talking about super serious things about, the instructions, for example, in medicaments, things like that. But what's the situation now?
Well, it's a really interesting topic, actually, because pharmaceutical industry is highly regulated and it's very resistant to change because of it. Because even in localization, translation of all those regulatory submissions and the marketing promotional materials are also regulated. So turns out, for example, for regulatory submissions, when a company wants to get a drug product approved, they need to show that the translations have been made by a trusted source, a trusted vendor, and there needs to be a human in the loop. So when right now the industry is trying to find a lot of applications for AI, because there are many potential ways to use it, both in localization and content creation and all that's related to documents. But they still have to remember about this regulatory aspect, and that there needs to be a human review, even if they use not just machine translation, but some clever mix of machine translation and AI. Still, the regulatory authorities will probably ask if there was a subject matter expert in the end who reviewed all that.
No, well, then that's good news, I will say.
Yeah, that's good
Whenever,
news for translators, really. Yeah.
yeah, writers, translators, go to the pharma industry. The future is there. It's so regulated that they cannot do anything. Okay, no, but that's great. That's great news. So, would you say the demand is high, medium, low, or have you seen, or would you say it has increased, decreased? Because one of the things I believe with AI is that, of course, many more people will have access to, for example, I'm thinking of industries that are not exclusively the pharma industry, but many companies, small companies or medium companies, will have access to internationalize and to sell their products outside, because maybe before they couldn't afford a translator, but now they can use AI, and in the end they will use a human. That's how I see it, because they want their products to be localized in a great way, and not just with machine translation and nobody taking even a look at it. But in our current situation, would you say that the demand for you in your case, or what you see in other colleagues, has increased, or what's the situation now?
Well, frankly speaking, I don't see much change from my point of view, but I'm not, I don't have access to maybe experience of a lot of people, and I can't. From what I see from my clients, the agencies I work with, nothing has changed really, and sometimes they come to me with things like, could you please send us your CV for a potential product? Could you please tell if you can work with this field of expertise or that in pharmaceutical industry? So looks like for now it's pretty much the same, but I expect that the industry will try to reduce costs and speed up the process with AI somehow. From what I know, many companies, especially the the translation agencies and maybe some pharmaceutical companies who handle who don't outsource much their translation processes, but mostly they do outsource. So the language services providers develop some solutions that can offer more than just translation. For example, there was a webinar about 2 months ago, I think, from a group of companies, Ecolad. It's a large group of companies, and they're highly invested in life sciences translation and localization. So they are developing a solution that can not only translate the documents, but also check for consistency between different documents. And by different documents, I actually mean not just, like in a CAT tool, you can generate a view of all documents and run a QA. Here they feed the actual Word files and even images together with the Word files to this tool. And the tool can cross-check, for example, if the dosage is the same, or if the dosing regimen or description of some side effects is consistent between the documents. I think it's going to be a big thing if it works, because it will change the workflows for linguists as well. And also, I think that multilingual content creation is another thing, when you can use the large language models to create content based on the source texts, but with some other input, like change the layout or the target audience, or I don't know, the length of the sentences or formats. So it's what's I think we said it last year that probably post editors will become like content editors after AI. They will review the content after AI, not just the machine translation output. But the machine translation is still in the loop. I gather that the engines are so well developed by now that it's not practical to replace them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. And what you are saying is what I see in the future. I mean, tools like the one Accolade is developing that you mentioned, and other tools that we will see, because every day we see something new. Of course, that will be super helpful. But in the end, what I see is, even if this tool says, okay, yeah, there is a discrepancy here between the dosage in this document and the other, there needs to be a human who goes and say, hey, you stakeholder, responsible person, the machine says there is a difference. What do I do as a content writer? What do I do as a translator? Should I then follow what is in the source text in this case, or then go back to what you have done in the past? So yeah, I think this what I also want to give is a message of hope for translators, because many of them say, well, with AI, no, AI, nothing is finished. I think with AI we have many new opportunities open. And I have a question, that I had a question, and I see that there is someone on LinkedIn that has made the question, and you were talking about it. So let's bring it up, because we don't have the name of the person, but he or she says, is medical or pharmaceutical translation restricted to specialists, or can it be developed through experience by non-specialists? I find that question super interesting.
It is, and I think back in it was very long time ago, but me and my husband and Pablo Muguerza, who is also tutor on TranslaStars, and also my colleague Jana, who is also a medical translator, we had a bunch of sample translations, and from like more than 100 of people, I think, who were some of them were linguists and some of them were specialists, like mostly doctors, but also some pharmacists, chemists, biologists, and we tried to analyze them to understand who is better suited for medical translation, and turns out that there's not much difference. So it might appear that it's better to have a specialized education to work as a medical translator, but the linguists have the power of language on their side, so they understand the text better in terms of grammar and structure, and they provide a better output, because even if you understand the topic, you need to phrase your translation fluently, and doctors and other specialists, they not always they can do that. So what I'm trying to say is that both as a project manager and as a teacher, I've seen many people who were or are linguists, and they work successfully in medical translation. And I helped a few of them with my courses to enter medical translation and find a place there. So it's not obligatory. And today, with access to specialized courses for translators, such as TranslaStars, and with access to platforms like Coursera with the whole YouTube knowledge, a lot of videos and everything, you can compensate for not having a medical education, a medical degree. It takes some time, but it's possible, and I know a lot of people who made it and who become successful medical translators.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm super happy that you have answered this question, and because I think that's what happens in all fields of expertise. I mean, technical translation about, for example, I don't know, electricity. You need to be an electrician. Not necessarily, of course, if you have studied that, if you have that knowledge, is an advantage. But then you have one set of skills, what you have just said, but you may be lacking the set of skills of understanding how language works in two languages. And it's not enough to be even a bilingual speaker of two languages to become a translator, or to be good as a translator, or as a content creator, or one of these jobs. So I'm super happy that you brought that there. Of course, as you have said, nowadays you have many platforms with courses. You have YouTube, you have you have the internet, and then one thing that I will also mention is networking. So I will invite people to, for example, follow you, follow Pablo Muguerza, follow the people that are, like, let's say, like the leaders, the thought experts in a field. Because I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit selfish, but if you have a doubt or if you have anything to consult, it's better to go to those people. If they can, they will help you, and they are usually super open, super friendly, and they love to help. They love to share their knowledge, or they can point you in the right direction to get more information or more knowledge. So I think, again, that networking is super important nowadays in the in the digital era. So do not miss that. I have another question for you, because next week we have a course called, like, I think it's Clinical Trials Explained for
Yes.
Translators. And I don't want you to, I mean, we are not going to do spoilers here. I'm not going to say what is it gonna, but what is a clinical trial? Like, Ekaterina, explain it to me. Like, I need to understand what that is. And why is it important? Why have we created a course about clinical trials?
Okay, sure. So clinical trials or clinical studies, there's not much difference. It's when a drug product is tested before market launch. So when it is tested in humans. So basically, a drug product or a medical device, clinical trials can also investigate medical devices. It is first created in a laboratory, then tested on animals if it's applicable. It can be also tested on cell cultures or tissue cultures, whatever. Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, just sorry. So then it should be tested in humans in conditions close to clinical practice before it is allowed to be used widely and marketed and provided to the general population. So clinical trials is when investigators gather a group of patients that meet certain criteria and test the medication, see how it works, whether it really works. There are several stages of clinical trials. So first it's tested on a small group of healthy people, then they go to larger groups of patients with the condition that's being treated. They monitor efficacy and safety, tolerability, so different side effects, how the patients tolerate it. And after that, there's a detailed analysis of the collected data to prove that the drug product really works. And it will work in a wider population, so not in that group of patients only, but in other similar patients. And after that, the regulatory authorities review all the data and give their answer whether to approve the product or not. And even after approval, there are so-called post-marketing studies when the drug is on the market, but they might continue investigating additional applications or just collecting more data in real life to see how the drug product works, how it behaves in real world.
When do translators come in? I mean, is it before or the regulatory authority says this is okay, or is it at the same time, or what's the usual way?
The translators come in right from the start
Okay.
because the translators, because well, all the documents are usually created in English unless it's really a local study. So if it's an international study and several countries are involved, several languages, then the translators will translate everything from advertisements for doctors, for patients, some maybe letters for the doctors, and then the clinical trial protocol and the consent form for patients and all the other documents. Then the translators will translate the clinical study report if it has to be submitted to local authorities, or just for the investigators who are more comfortable with the local language, not English. And it's quite common that the investigators know English but prefer their local language. Also, some clinical study results may be translated for patients to share data with the public. And there might be, let's say, an exchange of some additional communications between the sponsor and investigators and the ethical committee, because the trial has to be approved by an ethical committee, between the regulatory authorities and the sponsor. And there's quite a lot of documents, really, and the patients receive a lot of information. They receive the standard information leaflet and the consent form, but today clinical trials can be quite complicated. They can be conducted remotely or at least partially remotely. So then there might be a delivery service involved, or the patients might receive some monetary compensation for their visits, and they might receive it on a sort of a credit card. That was my latest surprise with the clinical trial documents, when I had to translate about how a credit card works and how to activate it.
Wow.
Then there might be some financial reports and agreements between the between the study site and the sponsor. So I hope I'm not bothering everyone, because it's
No, it's super interesting, because probably when you think about the pharma industry, you will just think of what you have said at the beginning: chemistry, drugs, and okay, then that's all. But then there is marketing. You are mentioning financial. There is absolutely a lot of fields that come in together, so that makes it more interesting. And I think also answering the question before about if it is restricted to specialists. No, I think because you need to specialize in many more things than just the pharma industry. You need to be a good marketeer, knowing about marketing. You need to probably know about SEO. So if you are going to sell the drugs online,
yes,
yeah,
sure, it's absolutely yes.
that's great. I have one last question for you.
Okay.
And one thing I would like to tell people is, you are still in time if you want to ask Ekaterina or myself anything. So feel free to drop your questions there. Do not spam us, because I have seen someone spamming us on Twitch, but that's okay. That happens. That's life. People need to sell their, their stuff wherever. So the last question, which is a very typical question we get in our courses and when we do interviews, is how can people access the market? I mean, not people. How can translators? How can someone who is already working, for example, with medical translations, how can they get to the pharma industry? What will be the most reasonable way? Is it through, like what you have mentioned, is it through vendors? You need to go to language service providers because the pharma industry only trusts them? Or is it possible also to work like with direct customers as a freelancer or something like that?
Oh, that's a very good question, actually. And I think as a disclaimer, I might say that I'm a believer. So I believe it's possible to enter the market at any point of time. So, and I think that there are a lot of ways, and I will mention them in a second. You just need to find which are more comfortable and which work for you. And vendors, coming to vendors is a good point because, well, there are some specialized translation agencies, and they sometimes look for new translators. I know that it can be frustrating to fill all the papers and then wait for a job, but if you do it as one of the ways to enter the market, you might just contact a few agencies, leave your details, and maybe something will come up. It works. And then you might contact the pharmaceutical companies directly, especially the local offices, because the local offices might handle some of the translation and localization projects themselves, not through the central office. And I have one such client, and I had such clients before as well. So it's also possible. And for example, to do that, you might contact them on LinkedIn, just to get some personal contact. But you also might go to a trade show, like large industry shows that are conducted once a year, for example. You might find a way to attend it for free. Well, I have. There might be the participation conditions for people who just want to come in and look around. They're usually pretty not costly or even free. You find some free tickets or a coupon or something, because organizers want to, more people to attend, to gather more people there. And you can go there and talk to representatives of pharmaceutical companies, leave some contact details. So leave your business card. I think it still works. People love human contact, especially after COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree, and I'm happy that you have mentioned it. That this is something that I mentioned before, networking and something that you.
This is networking, and I've done that. I went to trade shows and I found a few customers there, so it works.
Yeah. I think actually, for example, you and I, we are an example of that. We met thanks to Pablo Muguerza, who is a doctor and a translator. So in the end, it's talking to people, it's knowing people. Some people recommend you. Some people say, hey, why don't you talk to Ekaterina? Why don't you talk to Alfonso? So people watching us, this is the way, networking. This is how it works nowadays, even more than many years ago when I was younger. I remember many years ago when I was young. Uh, I remember taking my CV to places. I mean, personally taking my CV to places. That doesn't
Yeah.
happen anymore. So,
Now you can
so
just print a QR code and that's enough.
yeah, that's it. And then yeah, I mean, we have LinkedIn, which is like going to places, so you just contact
Yes.
people. So do not be afraid of contacting people. You already have a no, so it's okay if you get a yes, if you get an opportunity. That's something you have gained. Of course, always there is always that there is something that I always recommend, and that you were saying, choose wisely. Choose wisely who you want to work with, who you want to talk to. So it's not about sending 100 emails to all pharmaceutical companies in the world. No, it's about, okay, check which are the local ones. Check if they do something in other languages. If so, try to find if they have a localization team, or who is working for them. Try to get in touch with them, because usually that people is overloaded, so probably maybe they need a hand, and then you can start that way. So as Ekaterina was saying, she's a believer, I am a believer too. I think you can, I mean, sometimes it takes more time, let's be honest, but I think you can do whatever you want with your life, with your career, and it's just about being persistent. And it may sound very like cliche, but it's just about follow your dreams or follow what you want to do. That may imply working hard, or working very hard, and sometimes you need to work very hard for a period of time, but then you learn to work smart and not that hard. So that's
Yeah.
what you end up doing. um
Oh, if you don't mind, Alfonso,
yeah,
I'll just
yeah,
add one thought,
yeah,
or
sure,
maybe two thoughts, but they're kind of
yeah,
combined. So, speaking about pharmaceutical companies, there are people who deal with content there, and usually they are the marketing specialists
mm,
and the product managers. They need to translate some brochures for an event or something, and you can contact them and offer your services as their regular language provider, because it's very common in the industry to outsource translations, then receive them and edit. And if you add, this point of contact with a real human who did the translations, they might like it, they might benefit from it,
mm,
because you will know their requirements, you will adjust. And also, speaking about AI, since we're talking about AI
yeah,
today, when I get the sense that the language service providers, the agencies, they try to make their services like 3D with AI. So not just plain translation from one language to another, or even transcreation, but
mm,
also adding some other dimensions like
mm.
creating bits of content or verifying consistency across languages, across documents, or something like that. And as a freelancer, you can do the same. You can also offer them something with AI that will add value to your services, and
Uh,
that might be the our ticket to better life in the AI era.
Yeah, no, no, absolutely. I was talking to a friend who's a localization manager this morning, and we were talking about AI. We were talking about the interview that we are having today, and well, he was telling me things that they are doing using AI in their company, and I was saying, well, now for freelancers, for translators, what they need is to add AI to their portfolio. There are many tools out there that they can say, or not say, but they should know, or they should know how to use. It's not just about creating prompts. It's about, there are like that they come to my mind, like HeyGen or 11 Labs, where you can create a video in another language, but still that
Mm-hmm.
video needs to be or the script for that video needs to be read by someone, even if you can localize it with AI or machine translation. But someone needs to read it, and someone needs to make it logical, and someone needs to see that the time that you have for what the person is saying matches with the speed or with the wording that you have chosen for your target language. So there are many opportunities, as I see it, many opportunities for those who start incorporating AI to their portfolios and say, look, I can do this or that. It's not, I think translators we were a little bit limited before, like we can translate, some of us, some of them also said, okay, I can create content, so I am a writer as well. mm, Terminologies or SEO localization, but now there is an opportunity to add so many more things like video editing, dubbing. I know many actors can be angry with me, but look, this is the reality, and many companies in the end will prefer having AI dubbing their content than hiring a studio, because that's way more expensive. It takes more time. So let's be realistic. I mean, there will be some people who will continue doing that. They will continue using the studio. Some others will start using AI. And the CEO of a company is not going to go down to the level of using AI for their brochures or anything like that. So they still need people. They still need persons who know how to do those things, who can bring some more yes, some more resources and some more impact to what they are doing. So take advantage of the opportunity. If you are watching and listening to us, start adding AI to your portfolios wisely. It's not just saying about, oh, I can create prompts. Yeah, okay, perfect. But maybe you can that you can dub, that you can subtitle using AI into other languages that you know, that you manage. But hey, there are many opportunities out there, as Ekaterina has
I
said.
agree. Yes. By the way, in February I had a course, marketing translation for pharma companies, and it's available on TranslaStars website. And during this course, we played a lot with AI. We tried different applications, and it worked really well, especially for transcreation.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean,
there are many ways. Yeah.
I use it personally for TranslaStars. I use it on a daily basis because I need to double check things like the posts we are creating, or I ask. I'm using a lot Copilot, for example, and I ask it, okay, optimize this for social media, or reduce the length of this social media post to make it shorter and more engaging, more readable. There is a person who has created the social media post, but then it goes through another process. So that's what I mean. We have many opportunities here, and we can do a lot with AI if we know how to, and if we start taking it seriously and not just, in my opinion, not just complaining or whining all day. Because okay, yeah, it will, for sure, it will take away many jobs, but it's bringing new jobs. And
Yes, I agree. We just need
yeah,
to evolve. Yes.
yeah, indeed. Take it, add it to your portfolio. Say you are the expert on this and that thing, and people will hire you because
Yeah,
they are looking for the experts.
I agree. You can just say that you use it to be more productive, and you
Yeah,
can deliver
productivity.
faster or
Yeah,
deliver more because of the AI, because it really helps, especially
yeah,
with content and creativity. You ask
absolutely.
it to generate ideas, and you save 2 painful hours of thinking what I can
Yeah,
write there. Yeah, it's really
yeah,
good.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it can help you in so many fields. Of course, then we need your creativity. We need the human. But hey, take advantage of that.
Yes.
Ekaterina, I do not have any questions, any other questions. We don't have more questions. Some people saying that they are thrilled to attend the webinar or the course that we have next week. So we are waiting for you there. Remember, it's a webinar about clinical trials explained for translators. So do not miss it. You can buy the course individually, or you can buy one of our subscription plans, and you can attend the course. Ekaterina, again, thank you very, very much for having been here, for having answered my questions, the questions from the people in the chat, the people who are watching us. I wish you all the best and see you next week.
Thank you, Alfonso. I was happy to talk to you. I think we had an interesting discussion, and thank you for all the people who attended and asked questions. And I'm always available for contact in social media if you have any questions, or if you want to ask something about my courses. And I'm happy to see everyone who's enrolled next week on Monday.
Perfect. Yeah. Connect with Ekaterina and connect with me. Do not just follow. I don't want followers. I want connections.
Yes, I agree. Connect and ask questions.
I'm not a leader. I'm just a normal person. So I want to connect with people. I don't want followers. So connect people, send a connection request that costs €0. So do it. Okay, Ekaterina, have a great evening. Take care and see you next week. Thank you very much. And thank you
Have a
very much,
great evening.
everybody.
Thank you.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao. Bye.
Thank you.